Collins. We are caught between two numbered events here. It's been some exciting stuff. UFC 304 in the past, UFC 305 going on in the future. But I wanted to ask you, the in-between events were a little bit of a letdown. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've had a few issues trying to get something filmed and stuff, but we're here now, and at least we can get sort of touch on the previous cards and then ongoing card for next week as well for 305.
Oh, absolutely co-sign with that. Let's take a little look back into the UFC 304 drama here. The 5 in the morning from the UK. We'll just do a few minutes on it. What did you make of the card? Bilal Muhammad was able to defeat Leon Edwards, who seemed to be asleep. Tom Aspinall got a great win. Dana White seemed to be a little bit pissed off while putting the belt on him. What did you make of the event?
Overall, it was a decent card, but I think there was a few. It wasn't sort of as much a banger as I think. I genuinely do think the time did have a bit of effect on. I've seen quite a lot of the fighters even complain. Even Tom, he was shattered before that, and then Arnold Allen, he said he fell asleep at the wheel or nearly fell asleep at the wheel or something. I don't know if that was the day of the fight or.
Yeah, something like that. He got in a car accident because he was so sleepy.
Yeah, like I just don't understand. I understand where they've got the deal and stuff and that, and they had to sort of make it at that time. But I just think there must have been a way around it to sort of even meet halfway, and surely they could have took it back a few hours. Overall, it was a decent card. I did think it didn't give a good enough sort of thing of the crowd, because the crowd at parts were actually very good. But I think overall, because it was such a long night and stuff, you could say it until sort of Paddy sort of came out, and then his fight, and then Tom's fight, and it sort of woke it back up. But obviously, it's a long night as it is, and then people have been drinking all day and all night, and then they get to that, and it's like there was a few fights that weren't quite as exciting, and obviously the ending with Bilal just sort of shut Leon out. But
yeah,
I thought that was a weird fight, but it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. I thought Leon was got to do it, but I think after, I don't know what it was, like after the first round, I thought, I just don't think he's in it. I just don't think he was there in the head.
Well, he's always had the thing that we've talked about with Leon is he's very much like a watchmaker in that he always wants everything to be absolutely perfect. And I think someone said he would rather lose a perfect exchange than engage and win a bad exchange. So if something's not working for him, he kind of just clocks out sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it's like his own, as you say, it's like it was really similar to the Usman second fight, I think. But at least with the Usman second fight, he sort of had a strong first round, and then before there was altitude and stuff like that. But I did see obviously that he said about the time, and that was a sort of an effect to him. But I think because of the Usman second fight, people are just now comparing it to that, and then they're thinking like, is he going to be one of these fighters that when he's on, but when he's not, he might not be. I don't know if I was worried about the takedowns or, but Bilal, to be honest, Bilal surprised me. Bilal did he looked solid everywhere. Even I think his striking as well came on a long way. But I think it was more Leon's worried about the takedown, because Bilal just seems so strong in there compared to Leon, and whereas Leon's been in with a couple of good grapplers recently. So I just didn't understand how Bilal would be able to do that, but it proved me wrong anyway.
Bilal is such a guy that when he finds what works, he can follow the game plan to a T, you know? Like he has that strength that a lot of MMA fighters don't have, where maybe he's not the fastest, maybe he's not the most explosive, maybe he's not even the most athletic, but he's the most intelligent game planner in that division, and that's what's brought him so far, right?
Yeah, I think he just looked like, I think anybody would have been a problem for pretty much anyone in the division. The way he fought, it was a perfect performance, to be honest. And I know that people are saying it was a boring fight, but I didn't actually. I've seen more boring fights than that. I think because it was quite intense, and then in the end of the fourth round with Leon's corner as well, they're sort of giving him that pep talk again. Everyone's trying.
They were trying their best.
Make history, but there was something different to Bailey on that fight. I actually mentioned that to my girlfriend on the walkout. I was like, it just normally is out sort of all smiling, and he was sort of the same, but I don't know what it just energy level did seem down, and you didn't want to blame the timing and stuff because everyone did have to fight at the same sort of time.
Yeah.
But it's just one of these things, where I think you need to think about Bilal more, about how Bilal fought better than what actually Leon went wrong with. But overall, Bilal, he looked absolutely dominant. There was a few
absolutely.
the ending of the fight though. It seemed like Leon woke up with the last minute to go or whatever, with they get on top. But other than that, it just seemed like a bit of a shutout for Bilal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited for the welterweight division is cooking a little bit, but let's take a look at the odd heavyweight division and what the future is going to hold. Tom Aspinall defends his interim title, avenging a prior loss against Curtis Blades. Does it quickly, 1 minute into the first round with a nice little knockout there. I mean, what they say, no, John Jones isn't going to fight Tom Aspinall. He's going to fight the old man of the division, Stipe Miocic. What the heck's going on here?
It's such a strange one. Like, I was watching videos, I was actually watching the MMA Guru, who I didn't normally watch, yesterday, and he done like a breakdown of Dana's interview with
Kevin Iole, probably.
It was Kevin Iole, yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe, like, when you're watching it, and because he's breaking it down as well, and the way he's talking, and it's like, I don't understand. Like, fair enough, it is John Jones and stuff, but it's like shutting Tom down, like me, and then he's getting so angry about the fact that, like, he's saying that he wants to make that fight because everybody doesn't want people saying, "Oh, you should have made this." But I have yet to see one person, one tweet, one Facebook, like nothing. Or I've never heard anybody. I'd like to watch a fight with Jones and Stipe. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's nothing that really gets me excited. Whereas the Tom fight and even Alex Pereira fight, I would. But still, John Jones and Tom Aspinall, it's crazy that fight's not happening. And Dana's sort of saying that it might be after the winner of that fight will fight Tom, but they've both said they're retiring after the fight. So
I know, what the heck's that about?
It makes no sense, but it's just strange. Like, because I remember there was a time where Dana was, even though Jones was doing what he was doing, winning and constantly beating everybody, but he was like sort of like bad mouthing Jones about this and that, and he's like, and then now he's like over the top. I've never even seen him like going this hard for McGregor, or it's just weird. I think it's strange. Like, that is MMA Guru was even saying that's what was sort of making me think. I was like, he's actually right. Like, the way Dana's making it sound like is Jones has been out injured for 3 years instead of, like, fair enough, he's done his time, he can do stuff like that, and he's proved that he can come back and stuff. But I don't think the Gann fight sort of told anything. And Gann out grappled Gann. And so I think overall, Tom, it was obviously another quick fight for him, so it's hard to break anything down, but I think he's just power and his speed is just too much. I think it's too much for anyone at heavyweight, maybe even John Jones, but I don't think we're ever going to see the fight, to be honest.
Yeah, I was trying to think of who said it. I want to say it was like Henry Cejudo or Demetrius Johnson. I was like, does John Jones have dirt on Dana? Like, what the heck? Like you said, he wasn't even campaigning this hard for Conor McGregor and these other mega stars. But I think the UFC had a weird relationship to their heavyweight division historically. And we're seeing that more and more in the last few years where they're fumbling major fights, like the Ngannou situation.
Exactly.
And now we're seeing the Aspinall Jones situation, the exact same thing of like, how are they so bad at managing this marquee division, you know?
I just don't understand. Like, fair enough, it's Stipe and stuff, but it's a weird one. I just didn't understand it. Like, why would they not make, like, you think they would want to promote Tom, even though they can still promote Jones and Tom, like the young hungry guys coming up, beating everybody, he's interim champion, future of the sport, future of the heavyweight division, and then you've got John Jones, basically king of the UFC, technically should probably be undefeated if you take away the elbow, which I think they're campaigning for now. But even though he's had a few close fights and stuff in his last few fights, like, other than the Gann fight, you'd think that would make more sense, pay-per-view wise, money wise, promoting. If Jones does get beat, then you've got Tom, you're promoting to go forward, and if Jones wins, even better for Dana. Apparently, that is definitely greatest of all time. I think he is obviously the greatest of all time, even though it's got a bit of a dark thing on it, just where the amount of failed tests and stuff. I think it's like other fighters, they bring it up about other fighters about the failed tests, but it seems like when they talk about greatest of all time, everyone leaves out that part with John Jones. It's weird. It's like 1-0 for him and everyone else.
Yeah, it's like with greatest of all time talk, there isn't any correct. Like, whatever your standards are, you're right. Like, exactly. It's just not worth arguing about anymore. If people have one opinion on one side of like, no, if you pop for steroids, you're unqualified. Great,
Yeah,
fine. But then other people say like, no, it's fine. Everyone else was probably juicing at the same time.
yeah, that's it.
Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, Paddy Pimblett had said that the reason that he wants to fight Stipe so badly is because Stipe has a win over Daniel Cormier. And Paddy said that's how Jones's brain works, is he wants to
Yeah,
outdo the
it's something.
career.
It's something to. I like a bit of pettiness, maybe possibly sort of thing.
Yeah.
But because Jones is always he's fought absolutely everybody, so I can't come to mind where and say, oh, he's not wanting a challenge, because I don't even think it's that. I don't actually understand what it could possibly be that's stopping him. Maybe he's set on Stipe, he's been training for Stipe, and he's like, you know what, I'm fighting Stipe and I'm out. And he's no want to change sort of his style for his camp or whatnot. But maybe just want to keep it the way it was. And he's maybe just set and he's no want to change his mind. I don't think the fight will happen though, to be honest. If Dana was on board and tried to convince Jones, maybe, but he seems to be more against it than Jones does, than anybody.
I know.
Well, depending on when you ask him.
Man, I just throw the money at the heavyweight division and make it a marquee, make some stars in that division. I just can't believe they haven't. And in this amount of time, Jones could have fought Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall, Stipe. He could have done all of that in that amount of time. And we're just talking about he has one fight left. Come on, let's get it done already, right?
Exactly. It's one of the ones. I think he will fight. But the thing is, people aren't talking about it as much. Imagine, because they're older and they're obviously carry injuries a bit easier. If something goes wrong between now and the fight, I think they've got to try to reschedule for November. But if something goes wrong with that, then it pushed back another 6 months, another year. They're both a year older. Tom's to wait even longer. It's like, at what point do you just say either Tom versus Jones or Jones versus Stipe and strip Jones and just make it, because I don't think they even need the undisputed title, to be honest. If it is just sort of, as Dana says, it's like a legend sort of fight, they don't really need the title. Jones has won the title, he's proved his point. It's time we move on, I think.
It's exactly the same situation as when Bisping lost to George St. Pierre, and then they just got rid of the title because Robert Whittaker's title was really the better one, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he just sort of, and even at that, and after that, GSP, he was done after that, and Dana didn't seem happy about that. So it's weird how now he's obviously really happy about the Jones. As you say, it's like it's genuinely like he has got something on him. I don't know what's going on, or if he's just trying to sweet talk him into try to get another couple of fights out on possibly.
Man, I kind of miss the era of UFC 217. That was so much fun.
Yeah, it's a bit more. Everyone's sort of getting a bit more. Dana's forcing him into fights, and he's not going to be as defender. I don't know what's going on with Dana and Jones. It's such a strange one.
Let's look forward to. Speaking of Robert Whittaker, he is held the lineage, lost it to Israel Adesanya, held on to it, lost it to Alex Pereira, then avenged that loss just to lose it to Sean Strickland, who then lost it to Dricus du Plessis, and now Israel Adesanya is looking to get that title back at UFC 305. Main event, Perth, Australia. It's a heck of a fight. We got a classic grappler versus striker matchup, current champion versus former champion. It's a pretty great matchup indeed. And there's a ton of questions going in about the mentality of Israel Adesanya. And is he going to be able to do this? Is he going to be able to pull the trigger? I don't really know what to expect from this matchup in all honesty, but what do you make of it? What do you think of this matchup going into UFC 305?
Well, when I was thinking of it, like I actually think this fight could turn out to be similar to like what we thought was going to be the Costa and Izzy fight back during the lockdown sort of era, with a bit more wrestling, obviously, for DDP. But as you say, you don't really know what to expect from Izzy. I think it could be like after his the loss before Piera, and then he's coming back for that, and then his performance of that. But even it was a hard fight for him in the first round. But Alex was sort of hurting him quite. But even though he caught him and stuff, you could tell Izzy was sort of more wanting to fight instead of just sort of. So after that, I thought, here he goes, he's gone back on this big run again. And then obviously Sean Strickland sort of comes along and just does what he does to him. It's hard to say what sort of fighter's got to turn up. And DDP, every fight he fights, I'm like, this is the one he's got to lose. This is the one he's got to lose. And he just continues to beat everybody. Yeah. And the thing is, too, he's just like a big bull, I think. It's like, I think he might just be about wrestle heavy. And if he's wrestle heavy, I think we're finally got to see Izzy like sort of on the ground and try to, because we have been told that he's got decent jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So we might actually get to see a bit of that instead of just a strike up. And we know what he's like. He can get back to his feet and he's good at defending takedowns. But I just think he's like a big bull. So it's got to be really. It's a hard fight for both, I think. I think on the feet, Izzy is too clean for him, but it's just one of them. He seems to, when he rushes fighters, I don't know if that's going to cause Izzy problems, or he might just try to use the Sean Strickland method, obviously different style, but just try to walk him down and just try to not give him any space, keep him up against the cage and just stuff like that, and just try to fight him there. But I'm not quite sure. Who do you think is going to take that one?
But that's the thing. I agree with you on that. I've never picked a Dricus du Plessis fight correctly because to me, he never looks absolutely outstanding. He kind of looks like a guy who's just skirting by. He doesn't look like he's very coordinated. He looks unathletic, yet it doesn't matter. He beats people and he beats talented individuals like outstriking Sean Strickland. And then he also defeated Robert Whittaker up and down. And like, I've never picked his fights properly. I think I even picked him to lose to Derek Brunson of all people, I just can't pick his fights. He has a knockout loss to the former 2-division KSW champion Roberto Soldic. No shame in that. He's a great southpaw striker. So I wonder if Israel Adesanya is going to learn any notes from that. But Israel's his takedown defense is very good because of the distance game that he uses when he's striking, and that can lead to very boring fights. And that he's trying to keep his legs and hips really far away from his opponent, and that's great. That's fine, but it does lead to boring fights. And Dricus du Plessis must be aware of that because his coaches were saying that he's going to stay on the feet against Adesanya. And I don't know if that's just playing mind games to like misdirect them, but they did stay on the feet against most other people and have success there. But is that a mistake? Like if he's on the feet, he has to get knocked out, right?
I think so. I don't think he could. The only thing it is powerful. With that, the one thing he does seem really strong and powerful. I think it might be sort of if they're clinching and on the break or something, he might end up catching Izzy. But on the feet, I just don't see a way he can, unless he completely crowds him and just constantly. But one thing you have seen with du Plessis is almost all his fights, he seems to slow down a bit, even though he's still there and he's still throwing the same power and stuff like that. He seems to slow down in a lot of his fights. I know they said about he's had a nose problem before or whatever, and he seemed to have got that in tab. But I think depending on the pace of this, because I think they're both got to come out. I think Izzy's been there before so many times in the big fights that even though there was a bit of bad blood in that, I don't think he's going to come out and just try to fight stupid. I think Izzy's got to try to fight the same way he is, but I think Izzy's going to want to try to keep a pace on him. Because even though it will be hard for the first round, 2 rounds, if he stays in it, du Plessis, he seems to tire most fights, even though he still seems to get the job done when he's tired. But he will get slack with his striking if he's tired and his cardio starting to go down a bit. So I think if Izzy can sort of, if it gets past second or third round, unless he's got a clear on the ground, like which I don't think, we've yet to sort of see Jan Blachowicz slightly, but I don't think I think you're right. I think du Plessis has got to try to stand with him more than what he probably should, and then maybe get caught with something, then go start to concentrate on takedowns and grapple heavy sort of style. But it's a good fight. I'm glad it's finally happening. It's one of them though. I just don't know what to expect until it starts, because it seems like every time you don't know what to expect with DDP, because he's constantly, as you say, just every time you think he's like, no, this is the time he's got to lose this time. And he just seems to win every single time. But I'm not too sure who's got to take that. I would lean towards Izzy, but I would probably be 50-50, to be honest. If du Plessis can get the takedowns and stuff like that early doors, and maybe sort of tire Izzy out, which I think will tire himself out doing it. And I think Izzy's been there too many times to sort of get his cardio sort of done. And because I think Izzy's been ready for this fight and he's definitely motivated for this one, so I think it's got to be a really good fight, to be honest. But if DDP wants to win, I think he needs to make it a boring fight on the ground. But I think if Izzy wants to win, he needs to keep it a boring, similar fight on the feet. I don't think it's got to be the most exciting fight, to be honest. It might end up being one of these crazy barn burners, but I can't see it.
I hope Israel Adesanya wins, because I think mentally he really does need this. I think he's struggled a little bit in the past with pulling the trigger, and I really hope this fight with some undertones of colonialism, just talk, which is a reasonable discussion to have, just not in the MMA community. You know what I mean? In the Twitter hot MMA community, that's not something I'm willing to talk about in person. Let's talk about colonialism. But I think in the MMA space, it's kind of in bad taste sometimes. or people can't handle it, and that's what I'm willing to say.
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya, hopefully he can pull the trigger in this fight.
Yeah.
But if he can't, Dricus du Plessis has more tools, even though he looks so weird on the feet, like he puts his feet together. It's like his hips aren't communicating with what his shoulders are doing. You know what I mean? It's like the kinetic chain of teaching someone how to do a punch from your feet to the end of your fist. You would never use Dricus du Plessis' motion to do that, right?
No, it's just, as you say, it's a bit of a strange one, but it makes it work for him. But this effect, because he is so clean and everything's so perfect, like his stand up, especially obviously. But I think Izzy might just sort of set too many traps for him, and because he's not really like, he's not fought anyone like Izzy before, with in the UFC, anyways. But that's the thing with him. It's got to be I'd say a 50-50, but as you say, it's just his footwork and everything. It's like he's just wanting to actually fight. And just mark you down the fight. He's no thinking about tactics or anything. He's like, I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to beat you whatever way I need to. And he just sort of, it's like he's got no so much tactics. He just sort of, he's gone in, he's got to fight, he's got to rush you. And if it goes to the ground, he's happy. If he stays on the feet, he'll just throw shots, and he seems to land. But as you say, like
oh, he's still there. He
lands people.
We're back now. We're back.
Sorry, so I think I do think it's going to be a 50-50 fight, but as you say, it's just du Plessis. It makes it work for him, so that's the thing. And this fight, I won't be surprised this time if he pulls it off, even though it's definitely probably the cleanest striker he's fought in the UFC. So obviously, it's his different level when it comes to stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, even though I'm expecting a fairly boring fight regardless. Just based on styles, it's just the way they fight. Unless du Plessis just comes out wanting to absolute box him and go for it, then I think it could end up turning into a bit of a wild fight that way. But other than that, if du Plessis fights smart, you'd think he would go for the takedown and just stay on him. But who knows? Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the main event might be a little bit boring, and that's okay. It'll answer some questions. I think the main card is going to be absolute banger. Like, I'll just list off a few of these. Kai Kara France, Steve Ursig, you got Mateusz Gamrot and Dan Hooker, Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rosenstruck. That could be a snoozer or a first second knockout. Li Jingliang is back against Carlos Paredes. Like, which one of these fights sticks out to you? Because they're all bangers, right?
I think the Rosenstruck and Tai Tuivasa, I think the first 5 minutes could be a bit wild, and after that, then it could get really sort of a barn burner, like a snooze fest sort of. I don't think it's got to go. I've got a feeling though, with the crowd behind him, Tai Tuivasa might just come out the trap running and go for it in the first bit. It's sort of his style, and he's like, I'd like to see him sort of get back at start to get swinging and banging, because you know what, it's exciting when he starts getting in a swing of things, and he seems to drag technical fighters into wild exchanges and stuff where he seems to catch them. So obviously that Kai Kara France and Usyk, that's another good one. It's a hard fight for both fighters, I think. I mean, I think that's another sort of 50-50. Obviously, that his last Kai Kara France, people sort of thought he was going to skip line a bit compared to Usyk last fight, but Pantoja's just brilliant, like everywhere. He's so well rounded, he's solid, so obviously it was going to be a hard fight for Usyk, but obviously I think it's got to be, and I think that could maybe steal the show, but never. It all depends on fight styles and stuff like that. If Kai Kara France gets his way, he's just got to probably just try to piece him up. But we've got that. There's a decent card.
There is.
But a random question: will they be fighting early doors like? Because I think in Australia it's early morning there, isn't it?
Yeah, because I've seen different dates of sometimes it's August 17th and sometimes it's August 18th. And I think that's because when they've done Australia cards in the past, it tends to be in US primetime. But for Australia, it's not as bad as it is in the US. Like, I think it starts at like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And you kind of just go into the late afternoon and then you have the rest of the day. Whereas the UK was ending at 6 in the morning. That's absolutely awful. It's hard going to even stay up and watch it, like, no matter what, especially if I'm like working the Saturday and then I've been up early doors and I'm like, right, I'm going to tactically go for a wee sleep and try to wake up. But it never works out like that and you end up just falling asleep. I think I'm looking forward to the Gamrot and Dan Hooker fight as well. Oh, I know. That's a banger.
I do think it's got to be a hard fight for Hooker, but Gamrot, like as good as he is, like he can get. You've seen him get hurt a few times. Whereas Hooker is a sniper on the feet. But it's one of the ones too. I think it could. If Gamrot gets his way, he's just got to grapple him to death. I think.
Oh yeah.
And you've seen Hooker, that happen to Hooker a few times. I hope not. I hope it sort of ends up in a bit of a banger, because I want to see that. I like seeing Dan Hooker. I like Dan Hooker. I like seeing him getting the victory and stuff. But I was looking back earlier. Gamrot, the only loss I've seen in recent time, the last few years anyway, was Dariush. Even though there's been a few close decisions. But it's still like, I was like, no matter what, if he was to get a really, really good performance in here, people talk about Dustin Poirier maybe fighting for the interim belt. Yeah. But like, I don't understand how, if Gamrot was to get a really good win, even though they fought before, I wouldn't be surprised to see the rematch. So, because depending on how bad Islam is, but don't know, because you want to see Sarukian and Islam, but I think Islam seems to be like he's out.
Yeah, he's out for like 8 months. It's quite a while, honestly. Yeah.
So in reality, it's probably not really fair that Poirier gets a rematch. Well, not a rematch, but gets to fight for another interim. Well, gets to fight for the interim title if he's to fight Sarukian, especially if Gamrot wins. When Gamrot's got a win over Sarukian, and it was a close one. I think he died. And it was a close fight, even a couple of years back now. But like, you'd think that would sort of be, but it's not promotion wise, that it's not got to sort of like do the numbers that Poirier does or a Gaethje does. Or
I know, and the UFC really is more in the pay-per-view business more than it's in the MMA business, because they've also kicked the idea around of Ilia Topuria going up to lightweight and fighting someone like Poirier for an interim title. And at one point, on that idea, I do want to roll my eyes, like stop with this, like going up for interim titles. But on the other side, that's a banger.
That is, I would like to see that. I think obviously the Holloway Topuria fight has got to be like that card as well. That's a cracking card as well. Lined
so
up.
Pumped.
I've got a really bad feeling that Holloway's got to get caught though, because his power is just unbelievable. But I'd like to, it's an exciting time, especially for like featherweight sort of thing. After, even though he's not really wanting to fight anybody other than, we've seen Holloway's got to fight now. But so after that fight, because could you imagine Holloway wins that? If Holloway's to beat Topuria, it's got the BMF already. Wins the featherweight, and then he doesn't mind a quick turnaround, and then maybe even jump up to lightweight and fight for an interim belt like that. Can you imagine that?
Like, this is the thing of like that. These two divisions are so much fun. This is a golden age of the triangle of violence with Holloway and Poirier. Like, it's absolutely amazing, and there's no bad matchups to make. It's just that we got Islam Makhachev out on injury, hanging out, but there's no bad way to forward. You know what I mean? What do you think? By the way, we're going to get to it later on in the next few months here. What do you make of, like, is Holloway going to make 145? Okay.
See, this is what I was thinking. Like, I seemed like, as good as Holloway is at 145, because I thought he fought better. I know it was against Gaethje, but Gaethje is a hard fight for anybody. Yep. I think he looks absolutely power, especially. He seemed to carry a lot more sort of power at 155. And I think I thought he should have just made that. I think if it was any other fight at 145, I don't think he would be as interested. But because he's fighting for the title, he's like, you know what? But it's going to be a hard weight cut for him, because it's always sort of a hard cut for him as it is. He always makes it and stuff. But we're going up a weight and stuff like that. And I think he seemed to think that was him done with featherweight, possibly. And Volk was just going to keep the strap.
Yep.
But now it's opened up with Topuria sort of thing. But I do think Holloway's got it. I think he will, because he's a professional. I think he will struggle though, which worries you though, because if he does cut in a bit of weight, and you know what it's like, if you take the harder shots you take, if you're cutting a bit of weight, you can't take them as well. And especially, I think he's thinking what I was just saying about, like, can you imagine? Especially, and it's falling into place with Islam, because Islam's a stylistic matchup for pretty much anybody, especially Holloway. To be honest, Holloway on the feet, Holloway can beat literally anybody. Maybe not Volk, obviously, but that was just one of these things. Some people just have the type of fighters against them. It's hard, but I think because he's fancied his chances, obviously. I mean, it's got to be a difficult fight. But the thing is, he was taking big shots from Gaethje, but that is up a weight division as well, which probably changes it a bit as well. He's be able to take stronger shots and hit more powerful shots. Whereas at featherweight, I don't think he seems to have the same sting in his shots. It's obviously he's a volume fighter anyways, but at lightweight, he seemed to hurt Gaethje a lot, like with his one-off shots as opposed to just constantly bamming him.
Yep.
But
And that's Gaethje. He's hard to knock out.
That fight, Ilya and Max.
Man, I'm leaning to Ilya because of things like the weight cut, and I think he's kind of on the entering the prime of his career right now.
Yeah,
and I think he's a little bit more of a tactical boxer on the feet. I think Max has definitely has ways to win if he's game planning, but the weight cut does concern me quite a bit. But also, it's one of those matchups that you just keep going back and forth because it's a great matchup. Featherweight is that division, and it's that good where like it's such a good fight that you and I are talking about 304, 305, and we really just want to talk about Max and Ilya because it's such a good fight, right?
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. I think it could be. It would not surprise. I think Max will take him somewhere because Volk. He never really had a chance to go into the deep waters sort of with Volk because it was over a lot faster probably than maybe what would have been if it wasn't for the quick sort of turnaround and getting knocked out for Islam. It was different, and maybe in the back of his head But I think Holloway has got to drag it out. Even no matter the winner, I think you'll see a different side of Topuria sort of. Because in a bit of deep waters, because if he can come out somehow and prove me wrong and knock out Max early, which I think he can do, but I think it's got to be a lot harder, like knocking Max out. Like Max obviously never been knocked out. I still don't think it's ever still not ever been dropped, possibly.
I want to say that it's someone. Did Gaethje score one? I want to say someone scored one.
Other than the Gaethje, I think Gaethje got his, but it was But the thing is, that's so. I think if it gets Holloway's got to take him there anyway. I think if it gets to the second, third round, you've got to learn a lot about Ilya. But I can't wait for that fight as well. That's just as you say, it's one of their fights, and either way, I could see the winner jumping up, even if Ilya defends it. Especially even if Ilya defends it, Islam's out, he might jump up and fight Sarukian. Like I would like Ilya versus Sarukian for an interim belt, or something like that. I'd take my money all day for that. That's another banger. See all these young fighters that's coming through in the last couple of years as well. Like they're all so well rounded too. So they're exciting on the ground, on the feet. So I sort of think that could be. There's so many different things that could happen now that Islam's injured for a bit. But I definitely think we could see the winner of the Holloway fight and Ilya fight move up and fight for an interim belt or whatever.
I love it. I am so looking forward to it. Okay, this is mine. I got to get back to work here. I'm still working today. All right.
Yeah.
And I know. Let's do a rundown 305 next week after the event, and then we'll preview the whatever's happening after it. Cannoneer, that's pretty good. And then you got Burns and Brady. Yeah, that's not bad. And then you have O'Malley 306. O'Malley Dvalishvili at the Sphere. That's coming up.
Yeah, they're not too long for that now, too.
Ooh. We'll kind of preview those ones. But yeah, 305, we'll do a rundown. Last word goes to you, Mr. Lewis. Tell us more. What you got going on this week?
Quiet weekend for me. So just watch the fights tonight and then obviously maybe a couple of things. But thanks for the support and stuff. Anybody watching or whatever, it's a new channel. So I'm trying to gain as much access as I can. So if you wouldn't mind, like and subscribe. And I'll hopefully try to get a bit more support and we'll continue to put a bit more stuff out from now on. And we'll be on the ball a bit. And any help's appreciated.
Hey, thanks so much, man. Appreciate being here.
Thank you very much, Dan, mate.